recheck in with that spending plan, see where things are at. I mean, one of the biggest benefits is the market's been up like crazy for the last several years. So, hopefully that's offsetting a lot of this extra cost. But, these markets can't go like this forever. And we know they do turn around, and sometimes pretty viciously the other direction very quickly. Welcome to Wealth Creator Radio, where we help people overcome the uncertainty of having enough retirement income. I'm your host, Eric Heckman, a certified financial planner with over 30 years of experience. We want you to enjoy life and not have to wonder where your money will come from and how long it'll last. My mission is to show you how to develop a personalized income plan so you can retire more and have worry less wealth. Here at Wealth Creator Radio, we cut through the noise and get straight to what matters. We understand that the world of retirement planning can be filled with confusing products, ever-changing tax laws, and volatile markets. That's why we're here to help successful people like you navigate the uncertainty and create a blueprint for a thriving, work-optional life.
Hi there, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. Welcome to our show. Well, there's a new chairman in town at the Federal Reserve, and he's already shaking things up. At his very first meeting, Chairman Kevin Warsh made a bold promise to bring inflation back down to 2%, stating inflation is a choice. What could this bold talk mean for you and your money? Eric Heckman is here with us today, and he is going to be able to answer a lot of questions. You can call, you can text the word visit if you prefer texting. 800-454-1184 is the number. And you can also check us out at wealthcreatorradio.com and just click the link below too to just get in touch with Eric and our awesome team at Heckman Financial. So Eric, let's start with your reaction on this. I want to first of all play Chairman Warsh. Okay, here is what he had to say about inflation.
That's what we're prepared to say about inflation, but the commitment to deliver is strong, unanimous, and unambiguous. And that's, I think, an important message. We've missed for 5 years, and we're going to fix that.
Your reaction?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the miss for 5 years. They did bring inflation down, so they also caused it during COVID. So. Yeah, there's a lot of science that a lot of people think is belief. And so, it's kind of a goofy time now. But yeah, anytime you print a whole bunch of money, you're going to cause inflation. So we did that in COVID. It didn't show up for a couple of years. So that's why it made it look like Biden created it or whatever. And now, of course, Trump's created it. Well, now it's more you cause a war and you stop letting oil go through. Yeah, you're going to cause inflation. And so, yeah, we'll see what they say and see how they act. I mean, originally, of course, he was nominated so he could lower rates.
Right.
And, and then now that's definitely not going to probably be happening for quite some time. So, it'll be interesting to see. And of course, inflation is a big factor on everybody, because everything goes up, right? All prices go up, and groceries get more expensive because it costs more to deliver them, right? And move them around, and plants cost more, and everything costs more. So what does that mean to your finances? What does that mean to your retirement? That's really what the focus should always be, is how does this affect, you and your lifestyle, and, going forward from here.
And the chairman says that he's ended the Fed's forward guidance policy, and that's when the Fed would let markets know about where their rates were heading in advance. Tell us why that matters for someone planning their retirement, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much he's really, he says he's stopped doing it, but he also said that they've already not going to raise, lower rates in the near term. So it's kind of weird. But I mean, the markets are going to read everything that he says and does, and what the transcripts say. And so, yeah, not giving people a heads up, that may actually cause more volatility. It may cause more havoc in the markets, and may actually be a lot worse for a lot of people because, we're not going to have any sort of assumptions. Now, sometimes it may be good, because if those assumptions are wrong, at least there won't be a wrong assumption from what they said, or if they did a U-turn or something. So if there's no forward policy, but again, it just means we're a lot more in the blind, and I don't know why or how that would actually benefit the American people. I don't see the economics behind it, but a little strange. So we'll see how that plays out.
As you mentioned, Eric, inflation has climbed to 4%, driven largely by those energy disruptions from the war in Iran. But the Fed held its benchmark at the rate at 3.5%. So if they're so committed to fighting inflation, then why not raise rates right now?
Yeah, I think they're just hoping, things get better faster. And, it's kind of a weak position to be hoping on. And we haven't seen much success. I don't know how many different ceasefires there's been. It seems like there's one every single week. So I think it's been ended about 10 times.
Yeah.
So, right. It's like, okay,
it's been frustrating.
Ceasefire ended and all that. And this is, And this is what we started. I mean, this is not, this is a war we picked. Nobody else picked this war. So, we have nobody to blame but ourselves. But it is strange that they're not doing anything yet about it, and that may cause them to have to take more drastic action, or it may cause inflation to even skyrocket farther, and then they'll be behind the curve a lot and having to catch up. So, yeah, it could cause for a lot more instability for the rest of the markets for the rest of the year. To be continued, of course.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you said uncertainty or instability. What does all this mean for us in retirement?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes it tougher to plan, right? I mean, how much do you need to spend every month is one of the most critical numbers that you need to know when you're retiring, and what that spending level is. And of course, if everything just went up by 5% or 4% so far, but then that means you're now spending more money, and that may have not exactly been your plan. Maybe it was only more of the historic 3% inflation, and if it keeps going up higher and higher than the historic norms, your spending and income plan is going to be off. And so that's one of the most critical things to do, is really recheck in with that spending plan, see where things are at. I mean, one of the biggest benefits is the market's been up like crazy for the last several years, so hopefully that's offsetting a lot of this extra cost. But, these markets can't go like this forever. And we know they do turn around, and sometimes pretty viciously the other direction really quickly. So, I think it's a really great time for people to kind of, sit down, take some time to figure out, where am I at? Am I on the right path? Am I growing the right way? Am I spending enough? Will this money still last? I mean, these are all big, huge questions that everybody has. And that's why we've actually set up that digital toolbox. So that way people have access to literally a quick read of, will my money last as long as I do? Are you paying too much in taxes in retirement? Because that affects inflation and affects your spending level too. So there's a lot of great things. There's a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth, and there's a way to meet with anybody from here at Team Heckman. So all you got to do is text word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or click the link below online.
I'm so happy you joined us today. I'm Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, and this is Wealth Creator Radio. If you're just joining us, we're talking about how there's a new Fed chair in town and his tougher stance on inflation. So, Eric, let's just get practical. If rates do stay higher for longer, what could that mean for someone's retirement income? Kind of a redundant question, probably, from what we've already said, but maybe you can get into more.
I mean, one thing is, you mentioned he's got a tougher stance on inflation. Well, there's no proof to that yet. He did nothing, right? So right now, I'd say he has a softer stance. Yeah, I'd say he has a softer stance on inflation, because if he had a tougher stance, he probably would have raised rates. So he's just letting things slide. So it's. I think it's going to be, one of these things where it's going to last a lot longer, and it's kind of like turning the Titanic. You can't just turn things around. I mean, if the war ends, there's always been a lot of damage over that area. There's going to be a lot of, stuff that's going to carry on. So I think these prices are going to be up higher, which means, maybe go on a trip sooner before stuff keeps even getting more expensive, right?
I like that.
Or you can plan a cheaper trip or something like that. But I mean, I think it is, like I said, some time to recheck in, make sure that lifetime spending and income plan is still on track. And if you don't have one, I mean, you have to have one. Right. So if you're 50, 55 and up, oh my gosh, you need to have that. You need to know exactly where you are. Otherwise you're driving down the freeway having no clue as to where you're getting off. And that's not a fun way to go.
No, we don't want that. Well, Eric, what happens when someone does make this phone call or text you? Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, we'll set up a time to talk to one of the advisors here in the office. And, really what we're going to do is just find out what your worries, what your concerns are, see if we can help you. And if it makes sense, we'll actually go to that next meeting where we actually build out that blueprint, tell you where you're headed, tell you, what's working, what's maybe not working with some stuff you don't know about, and, make sure you know. And then it's up to you if you want to take action on that or not. So, again, if you want to set up a time to talk, easiest way to do it is just text the word visit, 800-454-1184. I can text word visit, no cost or obligation, 800-454-1184, or click the link below online.
Do you know whether your retirement plan has any weak points? Discover ways on giving your financial future the proper tune-up. Simply go online to wealthcreatortoolbox.com to gain a better understanding in taxes, Social Security, and other ways to manage your portfolio. That's wealthcreatortoolbox.com.
After years of diligently saving and investing, many people are thrilled to see their retirement accounts grow. And, that's a big achievement and worth celebrating. But there's the other side of reality we need to consider, and that is very sobering. The fact that Uncle Sam is just sitting there waiting on the sidelines to collect every single dollar that you withdraw from those tax-deferred accounts. His share, I should say. So, Eric, talk about what makes taxes such a critical concern for those who've accumulated a significant amount of retirement savings.
Yeah, well, one of the things that, unfortunately don't really hear much about is taxes are the number one thing that people pay in retirement. Sometimes you'll hear healthcare is the most expensive thing you pay for, but no, taxes are way, way more. Mm-hmm. One of the other problems we have is, when most people look at their, say your house is worth $1 million and you got $300,000 loan, most people think they've got $700,000 of equity in their house. But if you've got $1 million in a 401k or IRA, still yet to ever meet the person who says, I've got $700,000 of equity in my 401k or IRA, because you got to pay tax on that money. But, your statement never shows that. Your statement doesn't show that offsetting, liability. So as you retire, hopefully you don't have dependents at home, right? Hopefully the kids are finally out by then.
Yeah.
And so, so you get less write-offs, and then you're taking money out of all these taxable accounts. And, then now you're paying for Medicare and premiums for Medicare and such. And that was often something that was paid for before your take-home pay, right, when you're at work. And then if you've done good savings and you have a bunch of money saved up, often you have to take out a lot more when you hit 73 or 75 when you have those required minimum distributions. So there's a lot of tax stuff. There's a lot of minefields. And, I tell people that when you retire, your taxes are going to be so much more complicated. And they don't believe me until probably after the first year or two of taxes. And then they go, wow, now I understand what you're talking about.
We see. Yeah. So true. All right. So I hate to bring this up, but our national debt's growing at an alarming pace. So, Eric, how is this going to impact the way people need to think about their retirement tax planning?
Yeah, well, we're spending $3 billion per day in interest on the debt.
Oh my God. Craziness.
We're not spending that actually. That's actually false. We're adding $3 billion to the debt, right? We're not actually paying the interest at all. We're just accruing it, and it's just getting worse. And, so anytime you hear, I don't care which political party, anybody who's trying to cut taxes, save taxes, lower taxes, if you're not paying your bills, you can try to cut back your spending as much as you can. But even if you went to spending zero, right now, just Medicare, Social Security, and interest on the debt are more than the country brings in taxes. So there's only one solution, is to have more tax revenue.
Yep.
And some might believe tariffs and other things will generate that, but that's never been proven in history. So, the only way that this is going to probably end up being paid is unless they raise more money on more taxes on corporations, which they probably won't, since those are permanent. The other part is they're going to have to raise it on all of us at some point. And so that's why you want to really watch out, because if you're going to be 30 years in retirement, all of a sudden, if taxes go up on those assets that you have tax deferred, that means you lose money on all of the balance, not just part of it.
So scary. Now, the timing of when we take money out of those retirement accounts is crucial. So talk about strategies people could consider to manage that tax burden, 30 years in retirement, trying to figure this out.
Yeah, so a lot of times people don't really understand this, and especially accountants, I think, are probably some of the worst
Huh,
at
that's
this.
crazy.
Well, it's mainly because of a lot of times people ask the wrong question, right?
Mm,
If you ask, "How do I pay the least tax today?" Okay, well, there's one solution for that, but how do I pay the least tax over my lifetime? Oh, well, that's a different question.
mhm.
And nobody asks that question, and even accountants aren't usually very good at that because that's not what they're hired to do. They're hired to do the accounting, right? Do what happened last year, or do what's happening this year. But they're not really meant to be doing stuff in the future. So, so I think that's one of the biggest problems is people aren't looking at that. And often what they do is they say, "Oh, I'm not just keep deferring, and stay in this low bracket." Well, I've gone through income plans with people where they go from the 12% tax bracket up to the 24, and even one couple was up to the 32% bracket, the way they were doing their withdrawals.
Oh, wow.
So, if you go from 12 to 24, that's not 12% more, that's 100% more tax.
Yeah.
Well, if you go
Wow.
up to 32, that's almost 200% more taxes that you're paying. And why? Why was that? Well, that's just because they weren't planning. They weren't doing any tax planning. So once they met with us and they started working with us, now we're doing Roth conversions. We're paying some of that tax today. We're raising their tax bracket today because we know we can lower it down the road in the future. And not only that is by doing it so early, we're gonna avoid a lot of that growth that would have been growing in the taxable side, right? The tax deferred side. And now it's going to be in the tax free for the life side. So, way better deal. Is it going to cost them a little bit more to pay today? Yep. It's kind of like exercise. It hurts a little bit,
Yeah.
but you feel better, right?
It's worth it.
You stay
Yeah.
healthier, right?
Exactly.
So that's the problem I think with a lot of people is they don't really realize how this all plays out and how they have to have an actual strategy of taking this money out and when should they pay taxes, because there's lots of different options. You can create your own tax return issues by just depending on which bucket you take your monies from. And again, you want to plan this out, not just this year, but several years in advance to really maximize the tax situation. So that's one of the key things about having an income plan. And when people meet with us, that's what we do is we build that blueprint to retirement, to worry less wealth. And we look at that income, investment, tax plan. All three of those things are highly coordinated. Healthcare and legacy, that's the 5 areas that you need to be looking at. If you want to set up a time to talk with us, all you have to do, it's super easy, is just text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit, 800-454-1184, or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we thank you so much for joining us today. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. And Eric, you mentioned helping people with Roth conversions. And I've heard you say the acronym Roth, ROTH, rule out tax hikes forever. I love that.
Yep. No, definitely. Yeah. So a lot of times people don't understand what that is. And so sorry, sometimes it get jargony.
Yeah.
Try not to be.
Yeah.
But Roth is basically saying, okay, I'm going to pay my taxes once and be done.
Mm-hmm.
And so the pain there is paying the tax, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, and for most of our clients, we're not doing huge Roth conversions. We're doing 20, 30, 40, 50K, just enough to get you to the top of that fill up that lower tax bucket, but not spill over to the next one.
Yeah.
So we want to just get it right to the top.
Perfect.
And so what that does when you do that Roth conversion is, yes, you're going to owe some more tax in April, but you've paid that tax now once for the rest of your life and nobody ever else will pay it.
Right.
So that money could be growing for 10, 20, 30 years. It could be left to your heirs and grow for tax-free for even another 10 years on top of that.
Right.
And so that's the cool part. And then also by having some of that money tax deferred, you're now not going to have as much required minimum distribution. That's when the government says you gotta pay the taxes finally. And if you're born before 1960, that's age 73. If you're born 1960 and later, it's 75. And so it's crazy how many people are going to have huge tax bills when they're in the mid 70s.
Yeah.
Really silly.
That stinks.
so that's what we're trying to avoid. Yeah.
Right.
So, having the plan, having a course of action that's going to get you to where you're at. That's the key. And so having that personalized income plan where we run out those numbers, you have that income investment tax plan, that's what we can help you with. So all you have to do is text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit 800-454-1184 or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Many successful retirement savers have accumulated most of their wealth in tax-deferred accounts like 401ks and traditional IRAs. Now, this approach helped optimize tax deductions, obviously, during working years, but once you're in retirement, it can create significant challenges. So, Eric, talk about why it could be important for some people to have different types of accounts with different tax treatments in retirement.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the diversifications that nobody's talking about is, they'll talk about give you that little pie chart, right? You go log on your 401k and it says, you have this much in large company and small company, this much international, this much bonds, blah, blah, blah. The pie chart they're not really showing you is how much do you have in tax-free or how much do you have in tax-deferred, which means you pay taxes later. And for most people in their 401k, it's 100% all taxable later. Now, there's been the Roth 401k has been out for a long, long time. So it's over 15 years old now, actually. And so a lot of companies have that. So if you're putting money in the Roth, then you are paying tax today, and then all that money is yours. And so that's a huge help in retirement. But, one of the biggest keys in retirement is having variety. Because if you have everything, like I had a client that came to me, this was back when the required minimum distribution age was 70 and a half, but he came to me literally the month before he was retiring. Not really the time to plan to,
4 weeks.
It's kind of like your kid's about to go off to college. Can I start saving for college?
Yeah, right.
Literally right before he's going to go retire. And 100% of everything he had, literally, other than a tiny bit of savings, it was all in pre-tax IRA and 401k dollars, meaning everything he had to pay tax on. Oh. Well, there is no tax planning then. It's just, take your medicine, right? Or whatever you want to call it.
You got to do it.
You just got to pay the bill, which is awful. Now, for a lot of my clients, we're talking to them way earlier, luckily, and we're building up those options. And so if you've got some taxable funds, which would be savings accounts, brokerage accounts, regular investments, if you've got some tax deferred, which most people do, which is IRA, 401k, and then you also have some tax-free ideally. So that could be Roth money, could be specially designed life insurance, some other things. So if you've got some different buckets, then when you have something big, like I had a client, he had this old beater truck that, was just, he'd used forever and ever. It was finally falling apart, so, and he liked to do little things at odd jobs and stuff. So, he wanted to get a new truck, and he could have taken $30,000 out of his IRA to get the $20,000 for the truck, or just $20,000 out of his Roth because there's no tax, right? And so it was a lot nicer. It didn't jack up his tax return, didn't, raise the taxes on other things like Social Security, other places. There's all sorts of bad things that happen when you start taking more money or having a higher income in retirement. Sometimes your Medicare premiums can go up and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, that's one of the keys is if you have kind of just picture 3 buckets of money, the taxable, tax deferred, and tax-free. And obviously the tax-free is the best, but I find for most people, They have a huge bucket of tax deferred. They have a kind of like a red Solo cup of taxable money. And they've got those little red Solo cup shot glasses of
dear.
tax-free.
Yes.
And so that's the problem, is it's exactly backward of how you want it. So that's
Wow.
what we try to help people with.
Okay. So, Eric, can you explain again for those people just joining us why Roth conversions might be particularly valuable for retirees in today's environment?
Yeah, because really, we're at the historically low tax bracket, and it sounds great. Everybody loves it, right? Nobody wants to pay more in taxes, but the government's not paying their bills. We're not paying our bills as a country. We're just kicking the can down the road. We've got issues with Social Security running out of, and Medicare running out of money in the mid 2030s. So there's lots of issues, and the only probably plausible answer is to raise taxes later on. So if you've got a lot of money that's taxable, then that's not good. So when do you go to the store? Do you go when the sale's on or when the sale's off? Right? You
On.
typically want to do it, before that sale ends. And if taxes are on sale, pay them while they're on sale. So what you want to do is do some of those Roth conversions, take some of that money that was, that you didn't pay tax on, pay the tax on it now. Yes, that sucks. But the reward will be no more taxes for the rest of your life, not only on those dollars, but on all the money that grows to. And that will also then lower how much you have to take out in your mid 70s when you're required to take that money out and really get hit with a lot of taxes. So yeah, it is definitely something that people need to be focusing on highly now.
Right. Okay. So tell us how you help someone determine if a Roth conversion makes sense for their situation.
Yeah, well, really what we do is sit there and we look at their income plan. So the biggest critical thing is everybody needs to have a personally designed income plan that says for their specific situation, running out to age 100 from whenever you're going to retire, how much money you're going to have, how much are you going to be spending, what's the taxes look like year by year by year. And then it's very easy in that type of situation to say, oh, well, if we do this, does this make you have a lower lifetime tax or a higher one? And the more we can make lower, right, the better off you're going to be. The more, the more money you're going to have, the longer the money is going to last. And, and so it's just a matter of taking the time to look at and do that. It's not super hard, but it is hard to sit down and stop and take time and do the things you want to do, right? and so, the hardest part, I think, is for people just to really take some time out for themselves and make sure they're taken care of. And it is critical to do this. So, one of the things that we've done is just to have people get some more education about things. We actually have a really quick read on, am I paying too much money in taxes? Will my money last as long as I do? Also, the Social Security timing decision, a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth, and even a way to set a time with me, Eric Heckman. We have that all sitting there in our digital toolbox. All you got to do is text the word toolbox, get the link. And by doing that, you just text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
So happy to have you along with us today. We're covering some really good things about taxes on your retirement income. Now, for those, Eric, who feel confident about their overall retirement strategy, but maybe they're wondering, have I done enough to preserve myself from future tax increases? What would you say to them?
Do you know what your lifetime tax is? That's the easiest thing. And have you done any analysis to lower that lifetime tax? Because really, taxes are a year-by-year thing, especially in retirement. Because, again, once you've got those different buckets of money, depending on which bucket you grab when is going to determine that tax for that year. But if you keep letting things, defer and compound, it's going to get worse and worse. The government accounting office that analyzes things that the government does, well, they said once they moved the retirement age just from 70 and a half to 72, this is before they moved it to 73, now 75, that the government was estimating that they would make 15% more money in taxes because of that. Just that 1.5 years delay, people's balances get bigger. And then guess what? They pay more tax.
Right. Yeah.
so for them letting people go all the way to 75, It's not to be nice to you. It's to tax you massively higher because your balance will get way bigger and you're going to owe a lot more in tax. So, again, why did they do this? Why are they being so nice to us? It's like, no, it's for them to get more money to spend on whatever they want to spend on. And so, again, so be educated, get that data, get the, am I spending too much in tax and retirement? Copy my book, Worry Less Wealth, or even set a time to talk with me, Eric Heckman. The best way to do that is by texting the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com. This is Eric Heckman. I'm excited to share a sneak peek of a movie I co-produced, The Psychology of Retirement.
Who are the baby boomers?
If I had to describe the baby boomer generation in one word, it would be independent.
To be honest, I have done zero preparations.
My number one fear about retirement is the future. 20 years from now. I just want enough money to be able to live.
The whole purpose of money is to give yourself a better life. Not just for your money to pay your bills, but to reduce an amount of anxiety and uncertainty that you have in your life so that you can actually enjoy these years that you probably spent decades building up for.
To get your free link to the movie, text the word movie to 800-454-1184. That's movie, 800-454-1184.
Investment advisory and insurance services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., an SEC registered investment advisor. Because Eric gets questions all the time about retirement or maybe just anything related to money, we are going to bring you our mailbag questions today. So, Eric, I know you're ready for this. I know you love to answer these questions on air because you get these all the time. May as well bring them to the airwaves, right?
Yeah.
All right. First question here is from Jerry as we dig into this mailbag. He says, I'm just burnt out at work. I hadn't planned to retire early, but I'm seriously considering it now. How can I figure out what my timeline for retirement should be?
Yeah, no, it's always a very popular comment I get, actually. Like people like, I want out of here, yesterday.
Yeah.
The high-tech world especially tends to be super stressful. So, a lot of people just kind of want to get out. The number one issue always, hands down, is medical. So if you're pre-65, you're talking $1,200 or $1,300 a person for medical until you hit 65, and then it drops to $300 or $400. So huge difference. And one timeline I always like to remind people of is 63 and a half. 63 and a half is a weird one, but that's when COBRA takes you to 65 because you get 18 months of COBRA. So it's not going to be cheap, but at least it'll be good insurance and be less complex.
Right.
But again, that's where you have to look at that income plan, that lifetime income and spending plan, and go, okay, where am I on that? That chart. Am I getting to retirement? Am I on track? Really, what we do is we look at the different types of money you have, 401ks, regular investments, things like that, all the tax and ramifications of all those. And then run those out to age 100. And is there a red line where you run out of money? Well, if that's at 75, you need to work longer. if that's at 99, who cares?
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah.
so that'd be the thing is really, redoing that income and lifetime spending plan. Once you have that, then you'll know, can I do it? Is it possible? And, we do that lots of times, and quite often it is possible. And then there's sometimes where, no, you should keep working.
Yeah. You better suck it up a little bit longer.
Yeah, a little bit longer. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. All right. Next question is from Kay. And she says, my husband retired last year, but he seemed really unhappy. He needs something to occupy his mind and keep him busy. I think he should get a part-time job so he can stay busy. Could there be anything wrong with that idea?
No, I think everybody should retire to something, not just retire from something. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people don't understand what they're retiring to. Yeah. And if it's just the couch, that's not super exciting, right?
No.
Or a rocking chair, whatever you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So doing something fun, it can be great. I've got one client that likes to work up at the Mountain Winery. She gets to hear the concerts and just help people find their seats. And, I've got some other clients that work at SAP for Sharks games and concerts. And, there's all sorts of fun stuff that you could do. We got one that works with the SPCA. I mean, sometimes you just volunteer too. It could be something like that.
Yeah.
The only danger that you have is if you retired before your full retirement age, which could be 66 and 10 months for some people right now, but next year it'll be 67 for everybody. If you do work and you make more than 23,500, then you start losing Social Security if you make more than that. So that could be the only gotcha. If you fall in that boat of, I turned on Social Security, but I'm not full retirement and I'm going to work.
Right.
So that's the only gotcha you have to watch for.
Right. Okay. So if you want to consult about your own situation, then give Eric and our team a call. They would love to meet with you and give you some guidance on that. Our number is 800-454-1184. You can call that number. You can text the word visit to that number, and you can also click the link below to get an appointment. So we thank you so much for spending part of your day with us today. This is Wealth Creator Radio. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, president with the team at Heckman Financial, Team Heckman. So, okay, next question as we dig into our mailbag. Renee says, I'm 61 and I can start my Social Security next year. I'm not ready to quit working yet, but should I go ahead and start taking Social Security so I can possibly get more money to save for retirement? What about that strategy?
As I mentioned before, anything wrong with having that part-time job? If she's working full-time, she's probably making more than the 23.5. So, if she turns it on, she'll probably lose all the Social Security.
No need.
And there's no benefit then to turning it on. So might as well just keep waiting. Now I've had some people do that, especially over 67 when they're over full retirement age. I have had people still work and turn it on and then just say, hey, let's put all that extra money to the mortgage, or let's put all that extra money to Roth, or, something with that money. So it can be a strategy, but not when you're under full retirement age. Not going to work out well.
Right. Okay. Very good. So again, consult with Team Heckman.
Yep,
on
exactly.
that one. Yeah. Okay. And next question in our mailbag is from Alan. He says, we've had a family business for 3 generations. One of my sons plans to keep it going. I'm planning to step back and let my son take over in about 10 years. How could I figure out my exit strategy when it's time to retire?
Yeah, those can be pretty complicated because, there's a lot to look at there and figure out, the hardest part is when you've got, he says one of his sons, I don't know how many, I don't think he said how many kids, right?
Yeah, it doesn't say. Yeah,
so,
it does not.
So the hardest part about something like that is, what do the other kids get?
Right.
Right. I mean, if you're going to give one a business and then you pass away, they're going to go, hold it. He got that and I didn't get anything.
Right.
So making that equalized in your estate can be a little complicated. So, maybe the other kids get the retirement assets and the house or something like that. But, but then also how you're going to get bought out. Because if you want to sell the business or get something for it, probably odds are his son doesn't have that much money to do it.
Right.
So a lot of times you end up, building up a sinking fund or building up something where, he's going to buy it out, or he's going to do a workout type thing where, he'll keep paying you for, 5 or 10 years after you've left the company just to kind of buy that out. So, I mean, it is something where you have to figure out all those details, because if you're not working there anymore and then your son's taking over your position, but if he was already working there, somebody needs to take over his, but he also now has to pay you to not be there. So it's like hiring another employee who doesn't work. And so, it's a little tough to do. So he definitely needs to have some extra cash flow to make sure that works. But, I know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to be involved in that, and definitely something you want to do some planning for.
Right. And I know you do. You help small businesses, don't you? You help people who have a small business with this exit strategy. Very important to get some guidance on that.
Yep, for sure.
And then the other thing is legacy planning, like he would probably need to do too. That's part of your plan, part of your blueprint to worry less wealth is that legacy plan. So you touched 5 points in that blueprint. Tell us about that, Eric.
Yeah. So the first and foremost thing you got to have is, if you stop having work income, you got to have some money, right?
Yeah,
so
you got to have
number
money.
one is having that income plan. So the income and spending plan, as I like to actually call it, because it's not just about getting the money. It's also how much you're spending and when you're spending it and when those time frames are. So usually you want to have a little bit more fun early on in retirement. So you want to do those bucket list items. So you want to make sure you have enough cash flow for that, which means then, how are you invested? Are you invested for growth or are you invested for money coming back to you? And that's very different. So the way you invest in retirement is super different than the way you invested for the last 30, 40 years of working. And then, of course, taxes have everything to do with investments and income. So you can't talk about one without the other. So those three are kind of like triplets. They all hang out together.
Yep.
And so you got to have a good plan for them. Obviously, healthcare is a big one, pre-65, post-65 with Medicare, long-term care. And then lastly, what you were just mentioning there with legacy, who's going to get your stuff when you're gone. So again, if that's something that people want to get a little bit more information on, we can set up a time. We can, you can go see our great digital download in our toolbox, where we got a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth, and a lot more. But the easiest way to get access to all that is just text word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or click the link below.
Would you rather pay more or less in taxes? If you want to pay more, don't do anything. If you want to pay less, talk to Eric Heckman to see what's possible for you. 800-454-1184. That's 800-454-1184.
What we're going to do right now is what we always do. We either give a wealth success story or a financial fail. This time we're doing a wealth success story. Eric gives us an example of how things can work out for the best with retirees. So, all right, Eric, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, well, no, it's kind of a newer client to me, but they did a lot of the stuff that, a lot of the success stories are kind of, I guess, sadly boring. Because if you do the right things, it's like, okay, why did that person stay thinner? Well, that's probably because they probably worked out and didn't eat as much junk food, right? So there's some causation between, what's happened and what resulted. But we'll just call them, Bob and Amy because I don't want to give them their real names away, but they just, he's just retiring. And I mean, the weird part is they keep planning on doing stuff and then they don't do it. So I'm trying to get them to do this stuff because they kept saying, we want to take this big trip or we want to do this. But they did do something a little crazy, or not them, I guess their kids did, is they had 3 weddings in 53 weeks.
In a year and practically in 1 year. Oh my.
Yeah. Luckily the 2 didn't get married on the same weekend. That would have been a little weird, a year apart, right?
Wow.
So they had a lot of upfront costs to weather the storm, right?
Please tell me they weren't all girls.
No.
Okay.
I think two girls, one boy.
Okay,
so,
that helped a little.
Yeah, but so it was a lot of stuff there, and now they're retiring. They want to do those fun trips, like go to Italy, go do those things that they want to do. And really what they did is they just kept funding the 401ks. The main reason they came to talk to me was they kind of were starting to realize that the advice they were getting was really more for just growing your money and not how do you take it out, right? How do you, as they have these big expenses, as they also want to do some stuff to their house and other things, which bucket of money do you take the money from, right? So, because the weirdest part about retirement is you get to pick your tax situation. People don't kind of always get that, but if you've got a pot of money that's tax deferred, aka 401ks, IRAs, things like that, all that money you have to pay tax on. So if you take it all out at once, boy, you're gonna have a big tax hit. So, did you have other money in regular investments? Do you have money in just regular savings? It's been already taxed mostly, so looking at those, can you get some more money maybe moved into Roth IRAs to have yourself, more tax deferred growth or tax free growth. And so once you look at that and if you have a plan, you start looking at which buckets are the best ones to take out. So that's what we're able to develop and really lower their lifetime taxes by a lot of money. I mean, there should be several hundreds of thousands that between now and 90, we're going to save them on just how you're taking the money out. Obviously, if you're not paying that tax, that money's going back to you, right? That gives you more money to withdraw. So, so that's, so that was the good part is that they saved it, they put it away, and then they realized they need some help and figured out a way to get that help that's more designed for people doing that withdrawal. Thank you for tuning in to Wealth Creator Radio. I'm Eric Heckman, and it's been a pleasure guiding you towards a more confident and secure retirement. Remember, my responsibility is to always do what's right for you, our client. Together, we can cut out that fancy-sounding financial jargon that doesn't help and focus on what truly matters for your financial future. If you're ready to take control of your retirement planning and build a personalized income plan, contact us at 800-454-1184 and text the word Toolbox to schedule a complimentary consultation. If you're looking for more resources and tools to build your retirement future, don't forget to check out that Wealth Creator Toolbox, your toolkit for a secure and confident retirement journey. Until next time, retire more and worry less with Wealth Creator Radio.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.